What if I told you that an old, dirty, 1971 UK Elizabeth V new pence coin sitting in a drawer is worth far more than its original face value? One thing is certain: 1971 was not an ordinary year for British coinage. It was the year Britain made one of the biggest currency changes in its history, and some 1971 5-pence coins were struck as proof pieces and special collector issues. But here's the real question: what tiny details separate an ordinary 1971 5 new pence? Before you dismiss that old 5 pence as worthless, turn it over. Look closely. You are holding a small piece of Britain's transition into the decimal age. On February 15, 1971, Britain officially entered decimalization, replacing the complicated pounds, shillings, and pence system with a system based on 100 pence to the pound. The Royal Mint had to prepare enormous quantities of new coins before Decimal Day, and more than 2 billion decimal coins were struck in Lantricent in preparation for the changeover. And the 5p was one of those new coins. But here's where the story gets interesting. The 1971 5 new pence was not simply a random new coin. It was based on the old 1 shilling coin and was deliberately introduced as part of Britain's new decimal system. The Royal Mint explains that the old shilling continued circulating alongside the new 5p until 1990. So when you find a 1971 5 new pence, you're looking at a coin from the very beginning of Britain's decimal era, and that makes the date special. But don't make the mistake of thinking every 1971 5p is rare. According to Nemista's catalog data, approximately regular 1971 examples were produced, while around 35,000 pound proof examples are listed separately. That distinction could be important, because now we're getting to the clue that could change everything. Take your coin and look at Queen Elizabeth II portrait. The obverse features the young queen wearing the famous Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, designed by Arnold Machin. Look carefully at the lettering around the portrait. Then turn the coin over. There is the crowned Scottish thistle, surrounded by the words new pence with the denomination below. That reverse was designed by Christopher Ironside. Now inspect the coin under a strong light. Does it look heavily worn? Does the design show scratches and contact marks? Or does it have an unusually sharp, brilliant appearance? This is where collectors need to slow down. A proof coin is not simply a shiny circulation coin. Proofs were produced to a higher standard, with specially prepared dies and planchets, and were generally intended for collectors. So if your 1971 5 new pence looks dramatically different from an ordinary circulated example, don't immediately assume it's valuable, but don't ignore it either. And there's another detail most people completely miss. The 1971 issue has no mint mark identifying a particular British mint in the way collectors often expect from American coins. That's because the British decimal coins of this period were produced through the Royal Mint system, including production during the period when the mint was transitioning from Tower Hill in London to the new facility at Lantricent in South Wales. Nemista records production at both facilities during the transition years. Conditions strike surface design details and potentially an error. Now here's where the treasure hunt gets exciting. Examine the date 1971. Look carefully around each numeral. Do the numbers appear doubled? Is there unusual separation between parts of the lettering? Now inspect new pence. Then study the crowned thistle. Look for unusual raised lines, missing details, or strange shapes. But be careful. A damaged coin can look spectacular under magnification. A scratch can resemble doubling. A dent can look like a missing design element. And mechanical damage can create strange-looking edges. That doesn't make the coin a rare mint error. A genuine mint error must have characteristics consistent with something going wrong during production. And that's why authentication matters. Before you check your coin, there's something you absolutely need to know. Do not clean it, and definitely not with sandpaper or anything abrasive. A dirty coin may still preserve its original surface. Once you polish it, you may permanently alter that surface and make the coin less desirable to collectors. Now look at the edge. The 1971 5p has a milled edge, and the original large type coin was made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. The Royal Mint lists the original large 5p at approximately 23.59 millimeters in diameter and 5.65 grams, although measurements can vary slightly through wear and tolerances. If you have an accurate digital scale, weigh the coin. Then measure its diameter. A significant difference doesn't automatically mean you have an error. but it could be a reason to investigate further, and now comes another fascinating possibility. What if the coin isn't a normal circulation strike at all? Nemista lists 50,000 pounds to 65,000 pound proof 1971 examples separately from the regular mintage. That means when you're searching through old collections, presentation sets, inherited coin boxes, or forgotten drawers, don't just search for unusual errors. Search for unusually well-preserved examples. A coin with sharp details, clean fields, and a proof-like appearance deserves closer attention. But here's the shocking reality. The biggest mistake coin hunters make is believing a large online price automatically applies to every coin with the same date. It doesn't. Auction and market values depend on the exact coin, its condition, authenticity, variety, and sometimes whether it is a proof or a documented mint error. For this 1971 5 new pence, credible catalog data shows ordinary examples generally have modest collector values, while proof examples are separately cataloged. Nemista's values are only indicative and are based partly on user evaluations and online sales, so they should not be treated as guaranteed auction prices. That's actually good news. Because it means you don't need to believe every sensational claim online. You can investigate the coin yourself, and if you discover something genuinely unusual, especially a dramatic off-center strike, clip planchet, double strike, broad strike, or other obvious mint-made error, then professional authentication may be appropriate. It is a coin connected to decimal day, a massive change that transformed the country's money forever. So before you put that old, dirty 1971 5 new pence back into the jar, look again, check the date. Check the portrait, check the lettering, check the thistle, check the edge, check the surface. And check every tiny detail that other people might overlook. Most 1971 5 new pence coins will not make you rich, but that's exactly what makes the search exciting. Because you only need one unusual discovery to turn an ordinary afternoon into a treasure hunt. That old coin could be nothing more than 5 pence. It could be a desirable proof. It could contain a genuine mint error, or it could simply be a fascinating survivor from Britain's historic decimal day. You won't know until you look, so grab your magnifying glass, search through those old British coins, and inspect every 1971 example you can find. Because the next hidden treasure may not be buried underground. It could be sitting quietly inside an old collection, and sometimes the smallest clue on the smallest coin can tell the biggest story.